Captain Minho was enjoying his morning coffee when the emergency alarm screamed through his ship. The sound made him jump so hard that hot coffee splashed across his uniform. He rushed to the communication panel, expecting maybe a routine equipment failure or supply request from one of the research stations. What he heard instead made his blood run cold. The voice crackling through the speakers belonged to Dr. Jisoo from the Kepler 442b outpost. She sounded terrified, her usually calm voice shaking with panic. The transmission kept cutting in and out, filled with static that made it hard to understand. But the words he could make out were enough to send chills down his spine. Mayday. Diplomatic crisis. Never seen anything like this. Immediate evacuation required. The alien. Oh God, what have we done? Minho tried calling back, but only got silence. His hands moved across the control panel faster than he'd ever moved them before. Whatever was happening out there, his people needed help, and they needed it now. The journey to Kepler 442b usually took 6 hours. Minho pushed his engine so hard that he made it in 4, ignoring all the safety warnings flashing on his screens. His ship groaned under the stress, but he didn't care. Something was very wrong at that research station. As his ship approached the planet, everything looked normal from space. The research station sat on the surface like a small metal flower, its lights blinking peacefully. No explosions, no fires, no obvious signs of danger. But Minho had learned not to trust appearances during his 20 years in space. He docked his ship and ran through the airlock so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet. The corridor inside the station was eerily quiet. Usually he could hear the hum of computers, the chatter of researchers, the normal sounds of people living and working. Now there was nothing but silence. Then he heard footsteps running toward him. Dr. Jisoo appeared around the corner, her lab coat wrinkled and her hair a mess. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were wide with something between fear and complete confusion. "Captain Minho," she called out, rushing toward him. "Thank goodness you're here. We have a situation that's, well, it's completely insane." Minho grabbed her shoulders gently, trying to calm her down. "Dr. Jisoo, take a deep breath. Tell me what happened. Are you under attack? Is someone hurt?" She shook her head quickly. No, nothing like that. It's the alien. You remember we told you about the friendly contact we made 3 months ago? The one that looks like a giant wolf? Yeah, you named him Howl, right? What about him?" Dr. Jisoo's face turned an interesting shade of pale green. She looked around nervously, as if she was afraid someone might be listening. Then she leaned closer and whispered the words that would change everything. "Captain, he just told us we're having babies. All of us. With him. And he seems really, really excited about it." For a moment, Minho just stared at her. His brain tried to process what she'd just said, but it felt like trying to solve a math problem while riding a roller coaster. "I'm sorry. What did you just say?" "The alien thinks we're pregnant with his offspring. He's been congratulating everyone and talking about preparing nurseries and teaching the babies to hunt." "Captain, we don't know what to do. Is this some kind of threat? A misunderstanding? Are we in danger?" Minho felt a headache starting behind his eyes. In all his years of dealing with space emergencies, he'd handled equipment failures, asteroid strikes, even hostile encounters with unknown species. But this was completely new territory. "Where is he now?" Minho asked. "In the main lab, building something that defies every law of physics we know. He says it's a nest for the babies." Minho took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders. Whatever was happening here, his team needed answers. And apparently he was about to have the strangest conversation of his entire career. Walking into the main laboratory felt like stepping into a fairy tale gone wrong. Captain Minho had seen plenty of strange things during his years in space, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The creature standing in the center of the room was absolutely magnificent and completely terrifying at the same time. Howl stood nearly 7 feet tall, his body covered in silver fur that seemed to catch and reflect light in impossible ways. Each strand sparkled like tiny stars, creating an almost hypnotic shimmer as he moved. His 6 legs were perfectly balanced, giving him a grace that made Minho think of ancient legends about mythical beasts. But it was the eyes that really got to him. Those crystalline blue eyes looked ancient, as if they had seen the birth and death of entire civilizations. The moment Howl spotted Minho, his entire demeanor changed. His ears perked up, his tail started wagging with incredible enthusiasm, and his fur began glowing brighter. It was like watching a puppy see its favorite human come home. Except this puppy was the size of a small horse, and possibly from another dimension. "Human friend Minho." The voice that came through their translation device was deep and musical, filled with pure joy. "You arrive at perfect time. Joy time approaches for all pack family." Minho tried to keep his expression neutral, but his heart was beating so fast he was sure everyone could hear it. The alien bounded toward him with surprising gentleness for something so large. Up close, Minho could see that Howl's fur wasn't just silver. It contained swirling patterns of blue and gold that moved like liquid starlight. "The bond ceremony worked perfectly," Howl continued, his excitement making the translation device crackle with static. "Much better than elders predicted. Human hearts strong, human minds creative. Perfect for small ones." Dr. Hyunwoo, who had been standing frozen in the corner, finally found his voice. He stepped forward on shaky legs, his face pale as paper. "Captain, I think there's been some kind of terrible misunderstanding here." Minho looked between the terrified scientist and the ecstatic alien. "What kind of misunderstanding, Dr. Hyunwoo?" "We've just been friendly." Hyunwoo's voice cracked with panic. "We shared meals together, worked on research projects, played games during our free time, normal stuff. We never agreed to any ceremony or bonding or whatever this is supposed to be." Howl's head tilted to one side, his ears drooping slightly, with confusion. "But human friend Hyunwoo, we share food time every day. You teach Howl about metal-thinking machines. Howl teach you about star songs and dream-walking. This is bond ceremony, very sacred, very important." Sacred ceremony. Minho felt his headache getting worse. "Howl, what exactly do you think happened here?" The alien's eyes brightened again, and he began pacing around the room with obvious excitement. For 3 moon cycles, Howl lived with human pack. Share sleeping place, share food place, share working place. Humans show Howl kindness, teach Howl new things, make Howl feel part of family. Dr. Jisoo, who had been watching from the doorway, spoke up nervously. "Captain, we genuinely thought we were just being good hosts. We included him in our daily activities, shared our meals, showed him our research. It seemed like the polite thing to do." "Yes!" Howl's tail wagged so hard his entire body wiggled. "Exactly perfect bond ceremony. In Howl's people tradition, when different species live together in harmony, share resources, create trust and friendship, this creates life bond. Very rare, very special." Minho rubbed his temples, trying to process this information. "And this, life bond means small ones come soon, tiny beings with human cleverness and lupin wisdom. They will be bridge between star peoples, bring peace to galaxy." Howl's fur was now glowing so brightly that everyone had to squint. Dr. Hyunwoo made a strangled noise. "But that's impossible. Humans and your species can't reproduce together." "It's biologically impossible." Howl looked genuinely puzzled by this statement. "Not body-making, silly human friend. Mind-making. Soul-making. Small ones will carry best parts of both peoples in their thinking hearts." The room fell completely silent, except for the hum of the life support systems. Everyone stared at Howl, trying to understand what he had just told them. Finally, Minho found his voice. "Howl, are you saying that the babies will have human thoughts and alien abilities?" "Yes, perfect understanding, human friend Minho. Will be most wonderful thing in all the Star Osha, Doctor." Nari looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. Her desk was covered with scattered papers, empty coffee cups, and at least 6 different translation devices, all beeping at different intervals. She had dark circles under her eyes, but there was an excitement there too, like someone who had just solved the most incredible puzzle in the universe. "Captain Minho, everyone, please sit down," she said, gesturing to the chairs around the conference table. "What I'm about to tell you is going to sound completely insane, but I've triple-checked everything." The entire research team gathered around the table. Dr. Jisoo was nervously chewing her fingernails. Dr. Hyunwoo kept glancing toward the door as if he wanted to run away. Even Howl was there, sitting on his haunches like the world's largest and most patient dog. His crystalline eyes focused intently on Nari. I've been working non-stop to understand exactly what Howl means when he talks about these babies, Nari began, shuffling through her papers. At first, I thought it was just a translation error. Maybe our devices were mixing up words or concepts that don't exist in human language. She picked up one of the translation devices and showed it to everyone. But then I realized that Howl's people, the Lupin, have a completely different understanding of what reproduction means. For them, it's not about biology at all. Captain Minho leaned forward. What do you mean, not about biology? Nari took a deep breath. Among the Lupin, when two different intelligent species form deep emotional connections, it triggers something they call a consciousness bloom. It's like, imagine if your thoughts and feelings and memories could have babies with someone else's thoughts and feelings and memories. Dr. Hyunwoo made a face like he had just tasted something sour. That sounds completely impossible. That's what I thought too, Nari continued. But look at this. She pulled out a thick folder filled with notes. Every single day for the past 3 months, we did things that the Lupin consider sacred bonding rituals. We shared meals with Howl, which for his people is the deepest sign of trust. We worked together on projects which they see as joining minds and purposes. We included him in our conversations and daily routines. Howl's tail started wagging, and his silver fur began shifting to warm golden colors. Yes, human friend Nari understands. Very good consciousness sharing. And here's the incredible part, Nari said, her voice getting more excited. According to Lupin tradition, when this kind of deep bonding happens between different species, it creates new consciousness entities, beings that carry the mental patterns, emotional responses, and cultural knowledge of both species. Dr. Jisoo stopped chewing her nails long enough to ask, so you're saying the babies won't be physically half human, half alien? Exactly. They'll be something completely new. Think about it like this. Nari stood up and started pacing, her excitement growing. You know how human children learn their parents' languages, habits, and ways of thinking? These offspring will be born already knowing both human creativity and problem-solving skills, and Lupin wisdom and spiritual connection to the universe. Howl nodded so enthusiastically that his ears flopped. Human minds very interesting. Always. Making new things, always asking questions, always trying to understand. Lupin minds very peaceful, very connected to star songs and dream places. Together make perfect balance. Captain Minho rubbed his forehead. Dr. Nari, are you telling me that by being friendly and hospitable, we accidentally got married to an alien? Nari laughed despite the seriousness of the situation. More like we accidentally adopted children together, and according to Howl, these children will be incredibly special. They'll be able to understand and communicate with any intelligent species in the galaxy, his greatest honor in all Star Ocean. Howl added, his golden fur now sparkling with silver streaks. Human pack very good parents. Small ones will be peace bringers, bridge builders between all star peoples. Dr. Hyunwoo still looked skeptical. But how is this even scientifically possible? Nari shrugged. Honestly, I have no idea. The Lupins seem to work with quantum consciousness in ways that our science can't explain yet. But Captain, here's the thing that really matters. Howl isn't asking for our permission. In his culture, the bonding has already happened. The consciousness entities are already forming. She pointed to a corner of the lab where Howl had been working on a strange, shimmering structure that seemed to bend light around itself. That thing he's building, it's not just a nest, it's a quantum incubation chamber for developing minds. And according to my calculations, we have about 2 weeks before the babies are ready to be born. The room fell completely silent. Everyone stared at the glowing structure in the corner, then at Howl, who was practically vibrating with happiness. Finally, Captain Minho spoke. Well, team, looks like we're about to become the galaxy's first interspecies family. Taehyung burst into tea. The conference room, like his hair, was on fire, clutching a tablet that was beeping and flashing with dozens of incoming messages. His usually calm demeanor had completely disappeared, replaced by something between panic and amazement. Captain, we have a problem, he announced, setting the tablet down on the table with shaking hands. Actually, we have about 50 problems, and they're all coming from different parts of the galaxy. Captain Minho looked up from the reports he'd been reading. What kind of problems, Tae-hyung? The kind where every major alien civilization in known space suddenly wants to talk to us. Right now, Tae-hyung wiped sweat from his forehead. Sir, I've been a communications specialist for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like this. My equipment is overloaded with incoming transmissions. Dr. Jisoo leaned forward with interest. How did they find out so quickly? We haven't reported anything to Earth Command yet. Tae-hyung laughed, but it sounded more like a nervous giggle. Apparently, news travels fast when you're doing something that's never happened before in galactic history. The Lupin have their own communication networks that span across star systems. Word about Howl's bonding ceremony reached every corner of civilized space within hours. He picked up his tablet and scrolled through the messages. Let me give you some examples of what we're dealing with. The Crystalline Collective sent a formal complaint calling our bonding with Howl an abomination that threatens the purity of all species. They're demanding that we immediately cease all contact and destroy any offspring before they can contaminate what they call the natural order of evolution. Captain Minho felt his stomach drop. The Crystalline Collective was one of the most powerful and rigid civilizations in the galaxy. They controlled entire star systems and had technology that made human weapons look like stone tools. What else? He asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Well, on the complete opposite end, we have the Harmony Seekers, Tae-hyung continued. They sent a message calling this the most beautiful evolutionary step in galactic history and asking if they can send a delegation to witness what they're calling the birth of universal consciousness. Howl, who had been quietly listening from his corner, perked up at this news. His fur shifted to excited golden colors. Harmony Seekers, very wise people. They understand star songs and dream walking like Lupin do. There's more, Tae-hyung said, scrolling through more messages. The Trade Federation wants to know if these hybrid children will have special economic abilities. The military coalition is concerned about whether they'll have enhanced combat capabilities. And get this, the scientific consortium is offering us unlimited funding and resources if we let them study the entire process. Dr. Nari looked overwhelmed. How many different species are we talking about here? At last count, 47. Different civilizations have sent official communications, and that number keeps growing every hour. Tae-hyung set down his tablet and rubbed his temples. Captain, some of these messages are friendly, some are threatening, and some are just completely bizarre. The gas form entities want to know if consciousness can bond with non-physical beings. The Hive Mind Collective is asking if this means individual thought is becoming obsolete. Captain Minho stood up and started pacing around the room. In his 20 years of space service, he'd dealt with first contact situations, diplomatic crises, and even minor wars between species. But this was different. This wasn't just about one research station or one alien encounter. Somehow, by simply being kind to a lost alien, his team had accidentally become the center of galactic attention. Tae-hyung, what are they all asking for specifically? Most of them want to send representatives to observe the birth process. Some want to establish similar bonding programs with their own species. Others want to prevent it from happening at all. Tae-hyung picked up another device that was blinking urgently. Sir, I've got 3 different alien fleets requesting permission to enter our star system, and that's just in the last 10 minutes. Dr. Hyunwoo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up nervously. Captain, what happens if we say no to all of them? That's the problem, Minho replied grimly. We can't say no to everyone without making enemies, but we can't say yes to everyone without creating chaos, and we definitely can't handle 47 different alien delegations all showing up at once. Howl padded over to Captain Minho, his ancient eyes full of understanding. Human friend Minho worried about star people reactions? Very worried, Howl. Your people didn't mention that this bonding ceremony would attract attention from the entire galaxy. Howl's ears drooped slightly. Howl not know either. His first time Lupin bond with species like humans. Very rare, very special. Other star people never see before. Tae-hyung's tablet started beeping even more urgently. Captain, We just received a priority message from Earth Command. They want a full report immediately, and sir, they're not happy that they're learning about this from alien transmissions instead of from us. Captain Minho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, he looked at each member of his team. Everyone listened carefully. What started as a simple research mission has become something that could change the entire galaxy. We need to be very careful about our next moves, because apparently the whole universe is watching. The morning after the galactic communications crisis, Captain Minho walked into the main laboratory and stopped dead in his tracks. Where yesterday there had been normal research equipment and empty floor space, now stood something that made his brain hurt just to look at. Howl was working on what he called his life nest, and it was unlike anything any human had ever seen. The structure seemed to shift and shimmer, like looking at water through a broken mirror. Parts of it appeared solid and metallic, while other sections looked like they were made of pure light. Most disturbing of all, some portions seemed to exist in the room while simultaneously not being there at all. "Hal, what exactly are you building?" Minho asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The alien looked up from his work, his crystalline eyes bright with concentration. "Making safe place for small ones to grow. Life nest must be perfect balance between real world and dream world. Very important for consciousness babies." Dr. Jisoo was standing nearby, holding several different scanning devices that were all beeping in confusion. Her hair was even messier than usual, and she looked like she hadn't slept at all. "Captain, I've been trying to understand this thing for hours. My instruments can't even agree on what it's made of." She held up one of her scanners. "This device says it's composed of an unknown crystalline structure. This one claims it's pure energy, and this one insists that half of it doesn't exist in our dimension at all." Howl nodded approvingly. "Dr. Jisoo understanding correctly. Life nest must exist in many places at once. Small ones need real world for body growing, dream world for mind growing, and spirit world for soul growing." Captain Minho walked closer to the structure, trying to wrap his head around what he was seeing. The nest was roughly the size of a small room, with walls that seemed to breathe and pulse with gentle light. Strange symbols appeared and disappeared across its surface, looking almost like writing, but in no language he could identify. "Is it safe?" he asked. "Very safe." Howl's tail wagged. "Much safer than normal baby making. Life nest protects small ones from all dangers while they learn to think and dream." From across the room came the sound of tools clattering and someone muttering under their breath. Engineer Sungmin was surrounded by open panels, loose wires and computer screens, displaying incomprehensible data. He looked up when he heard his name mentioned in conversation. "Captain, I've been trying to modify our station's power systems to support whatever this thing needs," Sungmin called out, wiping grease from his hands. "The energy requirements are completely insane. It's drawing power from sources I can't even identify." He gestured toward the life nest with a mixture of frustration and admiration. "Half the time it seems to be generating its own power. The other half, it's pulling energy from somewhere that doesn't show up on any of our sensors. I've had to completely rewire 3 sections of the station just to keep our life support systems running." Dr. Jisoo joined the conversation, her scientific curiosity overriding her exhaustion. "Sungmin, have you noticed how it affects the local space-time around it? My chronometers go haywire whenever I get too close." "Tell me about it," Sungmin laughed. "Yesterday I was working on a repair that should have taken 2 hours. When I finished, my watch said only 30 minutes had passed, but the station's main computer logged it as 4 hours. Time moves differently near that thing." Howl listened to their conversation with interest. "Yes, Life Nest creates special time-space for small ones. They need time to learn many things: human thinking, lupin wisdom, star songs, dream walking. Normal time too short for all learning." Captain Minho felt another headache coming on. "Howl, are you saying that time moves differently inside the nest?" "Time moves as needed," Howl replied simply. "Small ones might spend many seasons learning inside, but only few days pass outside. Or maybe many days inside, few seasons outside. Life Nest knows what is needed." Sungmin threw down his wrench in exasperation. "I'm an engineer, not a wizard. I work with circuits and power cells and things that follow the laws of physics. This thing breaks every rule I've ever learned about how the universe works." But despite his complaints, Sungmin couldn't hide the wonder in his voice. The strange thing is, it's absolutely beautiful. The way it hums and glows, the patterns that move across its surface. It's like watching a symphony made of light and energy. Dr. Jisoo nodded in agreement. I've been studying alien technology for years, but nothing has ever made me feel like this. It's terrifying and amazing at the same time. Howl's fur shifted to warm, pleased colors. Human friends understanding. Life Nest is greatest art of Lupin people. Each one unique, each one perfect for its small ones. This nest special, first ever for human Lupin consciousness babies. As if responding to Howl's words, the Life Nest pulsed with brighter light. And for just a moment, everyone in the room could swear they heard something like music. Not with their ears, but somehow directly in their minds. It was beautiful and alien, and somehow felt like coming home after a long journey. Well, Captain Minho said finally, I guess we're really doing this. We're about to become parents to interdimensional alien babies in a nest that exists in multiple realities. Sungmin picked up his tools again. Just another day in deep space, right, Captain? The day of the bonding ritual arrived faster than anyone expected. Captain Minho gathered the entire research team in the main laboratory, where Howl's life nest now dominated the entire room. The structure had grown overnight, its shimmering walls pulsing with gentle rhythms that reminded everyone of a heartbeat. Howl stood before the assembled humans, his silver fur glowing with anticipation. Today is most important day, he began, his voice carrying unusual gravity. Small ones ready to receive life songs from human parents, but must explain careful, this not simple thing. Dr. Yoonji, the team's psychologist, stepped forward. She had been the calmest member of the crew throughout this entire bizarre experience, her training helping her process the unprecedented situation. Howl, what exactly do you need from us? Need part of each human mind, Howl replied gently. Life songs contain memories, feelings, ways of thinking, dreams, fears, hopes. Small ones must learn all these things to become bridge between peoples. Captain Minho felt his stomach tighten. When you say part of our minds, what does that mean exactly? Are we going to lose our memories? Howl's ears drooped slightly. Some risk, yes. Life song sharing, very deep process. Might forget some things, might think differently after, but also might remember new things, understand universe. In new ways, change both directions. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. They were being asked to literally give parts of themselves to create these new beings. The risks were unknown, the consequences unpredictable. Dr. Jisoo spoke up nervously. What happens if we don't do this? What happens to the babies? Small ones already growing, Howl explained sadly. But without human life songs, they only have Lupin wisdom. Will be incomplete, like song missing half its notes. They need human creativity, human curiosity, human way of solving problems. Dr. Yoonji had been quietly thinking during this exchange. Finally, she stepped closer to the life nest. Howl, if I volunteer to go first, can you show the others what the process is like? They need to see it's safe before they decide. Dr. Yoonji, you don't have to do this, Captain Minho said quickly. We can find another way. She turned to face him with a calm smile. Captain, I've spent my entire career studying how minds work, how consciousness develops, how experiences shape who we become. This is the opportunity of a lifetime to actually participate in creating new forms of consciousness. She looked around at her colleagues. If this creates a bridge between our species, if it brings peace to the galaxy, then it's worth any personal risk. Before anyone could stop her, Dr. Yoonji walked to the life nest and placed her palm against its glowing surface. The moment her skin made contact, the entire structure blazed with brilliant light. Everyone watched in amazement as streams of luminous energy began flowing from Dr. Yoonji into the nest. Her face showed no pain, only wonder and concentration. Her eyes were closed, but she was smiling peacefully. What's happening to her? Dr. Hyunwoo whispered. Life Nest learning Dr. Yoonji's mind patterns, Howl explained softly. Taking memories of childhood, school learning, first love, favorite foods, funny stories, sad times, happy times, all experiences that make Dr. Yunji who she is. The process lasted about 10 minutes. When the light finally faded, Dr. Yunji stepped back from the nest looking slightly dazed, but otherwise unharmed. "How do you feel?" Captain Minho asked urgently. Dr. Yunji blinked a few times, then smiled. "Different, like someone added new rooms to my house. I can still remember everything about my life, but I also feel connected to something larger. It's hard to explain." She looked at the life nest, which was now pulsing with new patterns of light. "I can sense them in there, the babies. They're curious about us, about the universe. They're already learning." One by one, the other team members stepped forward. Dr. Jisoo contributed her scientific curiosity and love of discovery. Engineer Sungmin shared his practical problem-solving skills and determination. Communications specialist Taehyung offered his ability to understand and translate between different ways of thinking. Dr. Hyunwoo was the most reluctant, but finally approached the nest. "This is completely insane," he muttered, placing his hand on the surface. "But if everyone else is doing it," as each person contributed their life song, the nest grew brighter and more complex. New patterns appeared on its walls, and the musical humming that filled the room became richer and more layered. Captain Minho went last. As the leader of the mission, he felt responsible for whatever happened to his team. When he touched the nest, he contributed his memories of leadership, his commitment to protecting his people, and his deep sense of duty. When the ritual was complete, Howl's fur was glowing with pure joy. "Perfect. Most beautiful life songs ever. Shared. Small ones now have everything they need to grow strong and wise." The life nest pulsed one final time, then settled into a steady, gentle rhythm. Through its translucent walls, they could see shadowy forms beginning to take shape. "How long until they're born?" Dr. Yunji asked. "Soon," Howl replied. "Very soon. Small ones eager to meet their human parents." The changes started small, so subtle, that at first nobody noticed them happening. It was Dr. Jisoo who mentioned it during breakfast 3 days after the bonding ritual. "I had the strangest dream last night," she said, stirring her coffee with a confused expression. "I was running through a forest, but not on 2 legs. I was running on 4 legs, and I could smell everything. The trees, the earth, even the emotions of other creatures around me." Dr. Yunji looked up from her tablet with interest. "That's funny. I had a similar dream, except in mine I was howling at 3 moons in a purple sky. And somehow the sound I was making contained actual words and feelings." Captain Minho paused with his spoon halfway to his mouth. 3 moons and a purple sky? That sounds like Howl's home planet. He described it to me last week. Within hours, it became clear that everyone on the station was having similar dreams. Not just similar, identical in many ways. They were all experiencing memories and sensations that belonged to Lupin culture, seeing places they had never been, understanding concepts that had no human equivalent. But the dreams were just the beginning. Dr. Hyunwoo was the first to notice his enhanced ability to read people's emotions. During a team meeting, he kept responding to questions before they were fully asked, picking up on subtle facial expressions and body language that he had never been able to interpret before. "It's like everyone's wearing their feelings on the outside," he explained to Captain Minho later. "I can tell when Taehyung is worried about something even when he's trying to hide it. When Dr. Jisoo gets excited about a discovery, I can practically see the enthusiasm radiating from her." The most dramatic changes, however, were happening to Howl himself, the alien who had previously shown polite but limited interest in human technology suddenly became fascinated with every machine on the station. Engineer Sungmin was working on a particularly stubborn power coupling when Howl padded over to observe. "Human friend Sungmin having difficulty with energy flow patterns?" he asked. "Yeah, this coupling keeps overheating, and I can't figure out why," Sungmin replied, not looking up from his work. "May Howl suggest trying resonance adjustment instead of direct power increase," Howl offered casually. Sungmin stopped working and stared at the alien. "How do you know about resonance adjustment? That's advanced engineering theory." Howl looked as surprised as Sungmin. "Howl, not sure. Knowledge just appeared in thinking space, like remembering something Howl never learned. From that day forward, Howl became Sungmin's unofficial assistant. The alien's intuitive understanding of technology grew daily, and his suggestions were consistently brilliant. He seemed to grasp complex engineering principles without any formal training, as if the knowledge was flowing directly into his mind. "It's impossible," Sungmin told Captain Minho after Howl had helped him solve a week-long problem in 20 minutes. "He shouldn't understand quantum mechanics or circuit design, but he's giving me insights that are beyond what most human engineers could come up with." The blending of minds worked both ways. Dr. Nari discovered she could suddenly understand Lupin language without using the translation device. When Howl spoke in his native tongue, the meaning appeared directly in her mind, complete with emotional, context and cultural significance. "It's not just translation," she explained to the others. "I'm actually thinking in Lupin concepts now. They have words for feelings and experiences that humans don't have names for. And somehow I understand them perfectly." The most profound change came during the second week. The entire crew was gathered for their daily briefing when suddenly, without any warning, they all stopped talking and turned to look in the same direction. They had all simultaneously sensed something that couldn't be described in words, a feeling of contentment and growth coming from the life nest. "Did everyone else just feel that?" Dr. Yunji asked softly. They all nodded. Somehow they were now connected not just to each other, but to the developing consciousness in the nest. They could sense the baby's progress, their curiosity, their eagerness to experience the world. Howl's eyes were bright with wonder. Small ones growing strong, they reaching out to both parents, learning from human minds and Lupin minds together. Captain Minho realized that what was happening went far beyond anything they had expected. "We're not just creating hybrid children," he said slowly. "We're becoming something hybrid ourselves." The boundaries between human and Lupin, between individual minds and shared consciousness, were blurring in ways that should have been frightening. Instead, it felt natural, like puzzle pieces finally fitting together. Dr. Jisoo summed up what they were all feeling. "It's like we've been living with only half our senses our entire lives, and now we're finally experiencing the complete picture." As the days passed, the changes continued to deepen. The crew began communicating as much through shared feelings and intuitions as through words. Howl developed an appreciation for human art and music, while the humans gained an understanding of the Lupin connection to what they called the star songs, the cosmic rhythms that flowed through all living things. They were no longer just two separate species sharing a space. They were becoming something new together, something that had never existed before in the galaxy. And in the glowing heart of the life nest, their children were preparing to be born into a universe that was about to change forever. The birth began at exactly 3:47 a.m. station time, but nobody was sleeping. For the past hour, everyone on the research station had been feeling a strange anticipation, like the moment before lightning strikes. The life nest had been pulsing with increasing intensity, its gentle hum growing into something that felt like the universe itself was holding its breath. Captain Minho was in the main laboratory when the first wave of light erupted from the nest. It wasn't just bright, it was light that seemed to carry emotion, memory, and consciousness itself. The brilliance washed over him, and for a moment he experienced something impossible. He felt the joy of birth from the perspective of both, parent and child simultaneously. "Everyone get in here now," he called over the station's communication system, though somehow he knew they were already coming. The shared connection they had all developed meant that everyone felt the same urgent pull toward the laboratory. Doctor. Jisoo arrived first, tears already streaming down her face before she even understood why. "Captain, something incredible is happening," she whispered, staring at the nest that was now blazing like a miniature star. The light began to pulse in complex patterns, creating harmonics that resonated not just through the station, but somehow beyond it. Taehyung's communication equipment went wild, detecting energy signatures that were reaching out across multiple star systems. "The signals are traveling faster than light," Taehyung announced in amazement. "Whatever's happening here, it's being felt across the galaxy." Howl stood before the nest with his fur completely transformed, no longer silver, but every color of the spectrum, shifting and flowing like liquid aurora. "Small one's coming," he announced, his voice filled with pure joy. Most beautiful birth song ever sung. The first child emerged as the light began to fade. She looked mostly lupin, 4 legs, pointed ears, and a tail that wagged with obvious intelligence. But her eyes held something unmistakably human, curiosity, and the spark of someone who sees problems as puzzles to be solved rather than obstacles to fear. "Hello, parents," she said, her voice coming not from her mouth but directly into everyone's minds. "I am Harmony. Yes, that feels right." Before anyone could fully process this miracle, the second child appeared. He was clearly Howl's offspring. 6 legs, crystalline fur, and the same ancient wisdom in his eyes. But when he looked at Sungmin's toolkit, he immediately began sorting the instruments by function and efficiency, something no newborn should be able to do. "Greetings," he said, his mental voice warm and practical. "I believe I am called Builder. I can see how to fix the power coupling that has been troubling engineer parent Sungmin." Dr. Yunji gasped as the third child emerged, and Captain Minho understood why. This one looked almost entirely human, a small child with dark hair and bright eyes. But her hair was shot through with silver strands that sparkled like starlight. And when she turned her head, her enhanced senses were obvious. She could hear conversations happening 3 rooms away and see the electrical patterns running through the station's walls. "I am Bridge," she announced, running to hug Dr. Yunji's legs. "And I can hear the star songs that parent Howl loves, but I can also understand the machine songs that human parents made." But it was the 4th child that left everyone speechless. This one didn't emerge from the nest so much as unfold from it, existing first as pure light and energy before slowly taking on a more solid form. Even then, the child seemed to flicker between states, sometimes appearing as a small human, sometimes as a young lupin, sometimes as something that existed in both forms simultaneously. "I am change," the 4th child announced, their voice seeming to come from everywhere at once. "I am all possibilities and none of them. I am what happens when boundaries disappear." Dr. Jisoo fell to her knees, overwhelmed by what she was witnessing. These children weren't just hybrids. They were something entirely new. She watched as Harmony began discussing quantum mechanics with Builder, while Bridge translated their conversation into emotional concepts that change absorbed and transformed into pure understanding. "They're communicating on levels we can't even comprehend," Dr. Jisoo whispered. "Look at them. They're sharing thoughts, emotions, and knowledge instantaneously." Indeed, the 4 children seemed to exist as both individuals and as a collective consciousness. When Builder had a question about human history, Bridge immediately shared her inherited memories. When Harmony wondered about lupin dreamwalking, change demonstrated by briefly existing in multiple dimensions at once. But perhaps most remarkably, they could extend this communication to any sentient being around them. When Dr. Hyanwoo knelt down to greet them, suddenly he could feel exactly what each child was experiencing. The wonder of first breath, the joy of seeing color for the first time, the overwhelming love they felt for their mixed family of parents. Sungmin laughed. Through his tears as little Builder handed him a tool he had been looking for, somehow knowing exactly which one he needed without being asked. "They understand everything," he marveled. "Human technology, lupin quantum manipulation, and things that neither of our species has ever imagined." Hal's joy was so intense that his fur was now cycling through colors that had no names. "Small ones perfect, better than wildest dreams. They will bring peace to all star peoples." Captain Minho watched as his crew, his family, gathered around the 4 miraculous children. Bridge was showing Change how to operate a human tablet while simultaneously teaching Harmony a lupin lullaby. Builder was already sketching improvements to the station's design, using principles that seemed to come from his combined heritage. They really are going to change everything, Captain Minho realized. These children can communicate with any species, understand any technology, bridge any cultural gap. As if responding to his thoughts, all 4 children looked at him and smiled. Their mental voices joined together in perfect harmony. "Hello, Captain Parent. We are ready to meet the galaxy. 3 months after the birth of the Bridgeborn children, Captain Minho's quiet research station had transformed into the busiest diplomatic hub in the galaxy. Ships from dozens of different civilizations crowded the space around Kepler 442b, each one carrying representatives who had traveled incredible distances for a chance to witness something that had never happened before. The children, Harmony, Builder, Bridge, and Change, had grown remarkably fast, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. They now appeared to be the equivalent of human 5-year-olds, but their abilities continued to astound everyone who met them. Captain Minho stood in the station's main conference room, watching an impossible scene unfold before his eyes. Little, Bridge, the human-appearing child with silver-streaked hair, was sitting cross-legged on the floor between a massive crystalline being and Howl. The crystalline diplomat, who called himself Resonance of Truth, had been struggling for weeks to understand why mammals formed emotional attachments to each other. "See, Uncle Crystal," Bridge said patiently, using the nickname she had given the diplomat. "When humans love someone, it's not just brain chemistry like you think. Watch this." She placed one small hand on Howl's paw and her other hand against the crystalline being's smooth surface. Immediately, both aliens' expressions changed. Howl's eyes widened with wonder, while the crystalline being's internal light patterns shifted to colors that indicated deep understanding. "Oh," Resonance of Truth hummed, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "The emotional connection creates quantum entanglement between consciousness patterns. It is not inefficient bonding. It is expansion of individual awareness into collective strength." Meanwhile, Bridge was somehow teaching Howl to operate the station's most advanced quantum computer, using nothing but intuition and gentle guidance. "Feel the data flow, Papa Howl," she said softly. "Don't think about the numbers. Just listen to the pattern song the machine is singing." Howl's crystalline eyes closed in concentration, and his paws moved across the holographic interface with surprising grace. Complex calculations that would have taken human scientists hours to complete were flowing effortlessly under his touch. "Most amazing thing Howl ever experienced," he said in wonder. "Computer, not just tool, is thinking. Partner like packmate made of light and logic." Dr. Jisoo watched this scene with tears in her eyes. "Captain, do you see what's happening here? Bridge isn't just translating between languages, she's translating between completely different ways of understanding reality." She was right. Each of the Bridgeborn children had developed their own unique gift for connection. Harmony could help warring species find common ground by showing them the underlying similarities in their deepest values. Builder could take technology from one civilization and adapt it to work perfectly with another's needs. Change could exist simultaneously in multiple cultural contexts, helping beings understand perspectives that would otherwise be completely alien to them. But perhaps most remarkably, the children were teaching others to develop similar abilities. The human crew members found themselves becoming natural diplomats and translators. Howl was learning to understand concepts that had previously been beyond Lupin comprehension. Tae-hyung burst into the room, holding a communication device that was buzzing with incoming messages. "Captain, we just received formal requests from 17 more species asking to establish bonding programs with humans. The Trade Federation wants to set up permanent cultural exchange stations. Even the Crystalline Collective has agreed to participate. They're calling it consciousness evolution experiments." Captain Minho rubbed his forehead, a habit he'd developed over the past few months. "How many species are we talking about?" "Total now. 63 different civilizations have sent delegations, and that's just the ones we know about. Deep space monitoring stations are detecting ships from parts of the galaxy we've never made contact with before." Young Change flickered into visibility beside Captain Minho, shifting between their various forms as they spoke. "Don't worry, Papa Captain. More friends coming means more learning, more growing, more understanding. Galaxy becoming one big family." "But Change," Captain Minho said gently. "Can humanity handle bonding with 63 different species?" "We're still learning how to be good parents to you four." Change smiled, and for a moment they appeared as a perfect blend of human and Lupin features. "Humans not doing this alone anymore. We Bridgeborn help teach. Other species helped teach. Everyone learning together. As if to prove Change's point, Builder padded over, carrying blueprints for something that looked impossible. Look, Papa Captain. Harmony Sister and Builder Me designed new type of space station. Can support bonding ceremonies for 12 different species at same time. Uses crystalline architecture, loop-in quantum spaces, human engineering, and gas forming. Energy systems altogether. Dr. Yunji knelt down to examine the blueprints, her enhanced understanding allowing her to grasp concepts that would have been incomprehensible just months before. This is incredible. It's not just multicultural architecture. It's multidimensional. Different species could literally exist in the same space while experiencing it according to their own physics. Hal looked up from the quantum computer, his fur glowing with pride. Small ones not just bridge between human and lupin anymore, they bridge between all star peoples, making galaxy-wide pack family. Captain Minho walked to the observation window and looked out at the growing fleet of alien ships. Each one represented a species that had traveled across vast distances because they had heard about the miracle happening on his small research station. They came seeking something that had never existed before, true understanding between completely different forms of life. Little Bridge appeared beside him, her enhanced senses picking up on his mixture of wonder and worry. "Are you scared, Papa Captain?" He knelt down to her level, looking into eyes that held both human curiosity and lupin wisdom. "A little bit, Bridge. What we've started here is bigger than anything humanity has ever done before." Bridge smiled and patted his shoulder with the gentle confidence that only children possess. "That's okay, Papa Captain. Big things supposed to feel scary at first, but look around. We're not doing big things alone anymore. We're doing them together." As Captain Minho looked around the room at his transformed crew, the alien friends who had become family, and the miraculous children who were reshaping the galaxy one conversation at a time, he realized that Bridge was absolutely right. They weren't just humans anymore. They weren't just one species trying to survive in a vast universe. They were the beginning of something entirely new, a galactic community built on understanding, cooperation, and love. And it had all started because they chose to be kind to one confused alien who just wanted to tell them they were having puppies and